ACA has suggested to its members a particular disclosure to leave on answering machines to try to comply with the FTCPA. And let me read this quickly, and then I'd like to ask the panelists whether they think that this kind of a message is something that allows effective collection, but at the same time adequately protects against improper disclosure to third parties. And here's what ACA recommends that its members disclose. This is a message for Mary Smith. If we've reached the wrong number for this person, please call us at telephone number to remove your telephone number. If you are not Mary Smith, please hang up. If you are Mary Smith, please continue to listen to this message. And there's a pause. Ms. Smith, you should not listen to this message so that other people can hear it, as it contains personal and private information. Again, there's a pause. The message finishes with, this is Bob Jones from ABC Collection Agency. This is an attempt to collect a debt by a debt collector. Any information obtained will be used for that purpose. Please contact me about an important business matter at, and a phone number is given, which is different than the phone number given above for the wrong, if the caller has reached the wrong person. Is that a viable alternative for complying with the law and for allowing collection, but at the same time trying to avoid third-party disclosures?
It would be if the technology was such that you could guarantee that the person would hear this entire message, but you can't, because the dialer technology is such that it doesn't necessarily sense when to leave the recording. What I mean is the person has an outgoing message that says, hi, you've reached the Smith residence. Okay, if this message starts playing as soon as that phone is engaged and doesn't wait for the beep, then the person that hears this message misses the first part. Another problem with this is it's a nice theory, but in practice it doesn't work, because we have cases all the time where the person says, listen, I'm not Mary Smith, don't call here again, and they keep calling and calling and calling, and then when we sue them, we get their notes, and it says, she says she's not Mary Smith, stop calling. He says if you call again, he'll sue us. And it's right in their notes. They know it's happening and they don't do it. So the theory of the message is good, but I don't think in practice it's working. But I do credit the debt collection industry that we do see some cases where we have lawsuits and we see that they have called other third parties that didn't know the debt, and that person will say, I'm not Mary Smith, don't call her again, and they'll stop. But we do see variations where there'll be continued calling even though the person says this is not the right number.
Thank you. Any other panelists have thoughts about what ACA has suggested?
I think what Don's talking about is not necessarily a condemnation of this message, though, for what it's trying to do. What it's trying to do is comply with the 11. And for that purpose, you know, it's probably about as good as we're going to get. Unfortunately, it's a long message. I'm guessing more often than not, people hang up before they get all the way through, which is bad. It costs money to leave that kind of message as opposed to a much shorter message.
Yeah, fortunately, people here are a captive audience. They had to listen to the whole thing.
Well, it was entertaining too. But no, I think Don's point, there certainly are some aberrations in connection with, not maybe aberrations, it happens, where the message isn't left perfectly or picked up right away. That happens. That's a technology issue. But I think for what it's meant to do and what the industry is basically forced into having to come up with something to do, it's a pretty good fix.
Yeah, and I would say the technology is much better than 90% answering machine detection and being able to leave a full message. So, again, when systems first came out, we did have that problem where as soon as the answering machines picked up, the recording would start. So now the technology is there where it can detect that it's an answering machine, wait for the beep, leave the entire message. So that's all there. And again, going back into the previous conversation when we were talking about voice analytics, you've got that capability, and some of the things you can look at is if a debtor says, this is not my bill, I don't owe it, I'm the wrong person, you take those recordings and you analyze them, and then you take a look and you see what the collector does with those calls. Because again, the collector's trying to get to the next account, so he doesn't want to deal with a dispute a lot of times, so he may just put that in for a callback again, and then another collector may have to deal with it. So by having a voice analytics and looking at those types of issues where somebody says it's not my account, you can really look and see and make sure your collectors are doing what your company policy should be, which would be, put that account into a dispute resolution queue.
I think it's probably a reasonable antidote to Foti, but I don't like it until after the first live call to see you have the right person.
Also, we don't see 90% compliance in the sense of full messages being left 90% of the time. It's much lower than that in reality. And when we depose these defendants, we ask them, did you test your system to see if it left the full message that you intended? We've had many of them that have said, no, we never tested it at all, or, yeah, we tested it one time. But by the way, we make 500,000 calls a day. But they tested it one time, a single time, with a single phone. And the equipment is not that reliable. From the consumer side, the failure rate on these messages is a lot higher than 90%.